What value will black people in America have on global, social, political, and economic systems? What role will black people have on the future as it relates to the balance of power on the global stage?
흑인이 세상을 못
Black people cannot take over the entire world and claim to be the master of all.
백인도 내가 주인이라 할 수 있는 게
Neither can white people.
서로가
Since each group has strengths and weaknesses, they should work together by enhancing their strengths and complementing their weaknesses.
서로가 노력해야 될 것이다. 우리 우월주의 갖고는
They should not think of being racially superior.
지금 이때까지 국제사회를
We need to look back at what black and white communities have done for the international community.
백인 사회들이 무엇을 했는가를 봐야 됩니다. 근데 백인 사회들이
White communities have acted very aggressively up to now.
강력하게 지금 했습니다. 이렇게 하다 보니까 흑인 사회들이
This has resulted in an environment in which black community shows strong hostility toward white community.
형성이 돼 있다. 왜 그러느냐?
Why is this so?
지구가 지구촌에 지금 이
The order of the world community was developed and arranged through aggressive forces.
이루어놓은 것이다. 강압을 하는 속에서 일어났다.
Social advancement was accomplished through the logic of force.
지금 1차적으로
So the first stage development is now complete.
희생을 많이 했죠.
While doing so, there has been a lot of sacrifices.
이렇게 보면은
Who was the victim of use of force? Black people made a great sacrifice. Then why did black people sacrifice? Because they were too nice. Black people resemble nature. The logic of power does not resemble nature. Black people take after nature. It means that they were kind-hearted. In one perspective, to create a certain environment, they were kind. So they were receptive to new things, and they liked to dance, sing, and feel nature. They were like a blade of grass. Because they are like a blade of grass, they are easily plucked off by the people. Their spirits are pure, but like a blade of grass, they are easily torn by force. Grass does not retaliate against force, and they continuously grow despite being plucked. That's how black people are. Black people have the power in their roots to endure the oppression persistently, no matter how harshly they received pressure on this earth. Black people sacrificed very much during the first stage of social development. When international communities like Europe and the United States were developing initially, they needed a physical labor force. Blacks were used as slaves and in many ways to provide physical labor. Blacks suffered at that time, not understanding the reason why they had to be sacrificed. The success of great American society and world humanity was possible through their great sacrifices. Blacks have contributed tremendously to the development of the Western international community. If the initial societal development is completed, then people should recognize the contributions of the black people and do something for the blacks. But this didn't happen. There should have been an education. Society didn't pay enough attention to educating black people, And so black people's lives didn't fit well with this society.
사회하고 안 맞는 삶을 살게 만들어 버렸던 이렇게 해갖고 또
Society held down black people's lives.
이제 이런 게 있었던 거죠. 그러니까 우리가 이 사회를 구성하는 때는
Current society developed through the great sacrifices of the people who were very innocent and pure.
우리 국민들이 굉장히 희생을 하는 바탕 속에서 이 사회는 일어나는 겁니다. 그는 어떤 사회든지 마찬가지입니다.
This happens similarly in any other society. The international community and humanity have stood the test of time up to now, thanks to such sacrifices of the people. They have built the foundation and organized the order of the social system. However, international society is now in confusion because it did not embrace these people who sacrificed greatly and underwent hardships.
국제사회가 굉장히 혼동이 일어나고 있다. 이런 거죠.
This does not apply just to the black community. There are Asians and white people who underwent hardships too. The signs of a conflict between the sacrificed and the vested interests are showing because humanity did not care enough about the people who silently worked hard and sacrificed themselves behind the scenes while establishing this global community. This creates a justification that can bring human destruction. In the past, a leader would have encouraged people to rise up in protest, but the leaders of today are intellectuals. Fortunately, these intellectual leaders are pacifying people's anger to prevent them from causing a disorder. These leaders are very high in their quality of energy. They are trying to find the answer instead of blaming society and trying to destroy society. They don't ask society to listen to their demands blindly, but rather they are looking for a solution. Humanity is still in stable condition thanks to these leaders. These leaders are admirable. There should be an opportunity for these leaders to come together and discuss. Starting from where? As Daehanmin국 or Korea takes the first step and starts a dialogue, the spiritual leaders will gradually gather together to discuss how to solve problems in the world. The future of the world stage depends on this. In the future, humankind will have Doin governance. Doin means fully matured intellectuals. There have been prophecies about Doin governance for thousands of years. But people still do not know what it is like to have Doins govern the world. First, we must be clear who the Doins are. The Doins are the intellectuals. People with special talents are not Doin. We have thought that people with special power were Doin. Why? Because the intellectuals didn't have perfect knowledge until now. They were envious of those who had special talents and miraculous powers. It means the intellectuals were inadequate in their qualities of energy. But when they are fully equipped with perfect knowledge, they will be able to utilize people with special talents. They will no longer be envious of the gifted people, but employ them for the benefit of the world. This is what you call a politician. When all the intellectuals are fully grown, they become Doin. God has been working on raising these Doins up to now. When the era of management begins after reaching 70% development, the intellectuals will manage the society.
어떤 분야에도 지식인이
There are
따로 있습니다.
intellectuals in any field.
지식인과 비지식인을
Let me
내가
clarify
그대로 알지.
who is an intellectual versus a
내가
non-intellectual.
하버드 나왔다고 지식인이 되는
A
게 아니에요.
Harvard graduate is not necessarily an intellectual.
그렇다고 한자도 글을 안
Someone
듣는다고
is
지식인이
not
안
an
되는
intellectual
것도
just because they are illiterate either.
아니에요. 지식인은 모름지기 공인이
In
되는
reality, an intellectual becomes a public figure.
지식을 다 갖춘
They
사람은
become
공적인
people
사람이
who live for the public
지식을
good.
갖추지 못한
A person who has
사람은
perfected all knowledge becomes a public person, while a person who still lacks knowledge remains a private person. Then how much of your life are you living publicly? It is time we consider this. When a person lives 70% publicly, they are considered an intellectual whom we can call a public figure. Ordinary people cannot become 100% public figures. The highest spiritual leaders who studied for big aspirations become 100% public figures. Ordinary intellectuals can be called public figures when their life reaches 70% public. From that point on, measuring one's public interest gets higher. It is impossible for human beings to make an effort greater than 70%. Human beings are able to reach 70% by their own efforts. Then how do we fulfill the remaining 30%? This is fulfilled automatically by grand nature. When you reach 70% development, grand nature will pull you up naturally and lead you further. That is outside human boundary. The remaining 30% is the realm of nature. So it is important how we grow to 70% development to become intellectuals. Politics will be run by Doin in the future. Genuine Doin will appear and solve problems in the world so that world peace will begin and usher in a bright future. This is how you should understand it.